to the NOCAP podcast. And in this episode, we will be talking about killer cereals, right? First, before I get started, thank you guys for tuning in. If you are listening to this podcast pre recorded, thank you so much. I do this podcast live as well on Instagram. You can go to my page. It's called No Cap Yog, right? That way you can actually watch and see live. If we're looking at things on the screen, I can show you there so that way it could help maybe further your understanding, right, on the topics. So let's get into it. So, as we know, ingredients, I did a podcast. The first podcast I did, actually, I think I want to say two of the podcasts. The first two talked about ingredients, right? In the second podcast, I actually talked about some killer ingredients. And the third podcast I just released actually was a detailed study breaking down hot Cheetos, right? And we went through those ingredients, and we basically found out that through our study that hot Cheetos is basically 40% maybe is maybe 20% food and like 80% other stuff. Somewhere around there is like a crazy number, like 70-30 or 60-40, right? Which is crazy to think that, more than half of what you eat is not really edible, right? So we're going to continue to piggyback off of that conversation, and we are going to talk about cereal. And one of the reasons why I choose to talk about cereal is because cereal is probably, if not the biggest breakfast that youth in America is given, because it's so quick, right? It's so easy. And honestly, let's be real. I used to eat a lot of cereal. As a kid, I used to eat a lot of cereal. Even as an adult, I eat cereal now, but since my knowledge has expanded, I do not eat the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm not eating the, I used to love Cookie Crisp, Waffle Crisp, Honey Graham O's, Rice Krispies, you name it, Cocoa Puffs, all these cereals, right? I no longer eat them. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually break down the ingredients of one of our favorite cereals, right? Which is Captain Crunch, right? And specifically the Crunch Berry cereal, right? Because it's important for us to understand what we're putting in our bodies every day. And, over time, it's going to be very easy to see why our country lacks nutrition. Okay. So if you're watching with me live here on Instagram Live, I have the ingredients list up, right? Let's read the ingredient. We're just going to read all the ingredients straight through before we break down anything. All right. So we have corn flour, sugar, oat flour, brown sugar, palm and or coconut oil, salt, sodium citrate, natural and artificial flavors, malic acid, red 40, reduced iron, yellow 5, niacyanide, blue 1, yellow 6, BHT, diamine myonitrate, pyridoxine, hydrochloride riboflavin, folic acid. Okay, those are all of the ingredients in Captain Crunch berries. I can guarantee that most of the people listening to this podcast probably cannot even identify more than half of those names that are in Captain Crunch berries. So, quick question to my listeners right now. Quick question to my listeners. Thank you for being in here once again. Much appreciated. All right, quick question for my listeners. Are you able to identify all of these ingredients in the Captain Crunch Berries cereal? All right. Are you able to identify all the ingredients in the Captain Crunch Berry cereal? All right. Sorry for the sound effects, technical difficulties. And if you can't identify them, your next state of action should be, okay, let's identify them. All right. So let's look at a few things. It says here that we have some corn flour, and then the next ingredient is sugar. Okay. Corn flour is what this cereal is made out of. And then the next ingredient is sugar. And then the next ingredient is oat flour. So it looks like on Captain Crunch Berries, the most food that we have in this cereal is corn flour and oat flour. Those are the only two physical forms of food that are in Captain Crunchberry cereal. From the rest of that, it becomes artificial. And we don't even know what's in the corn flour. It's not stated. We don't know what's in the oat flour. It's not stated. So we kind of have to assume how these things are made, right? So the only two ingredients that we can see that we have physical food, it may be corn flour and maybe oat flour. Okay. And now it says they also have some sugar. We don't know what kind of sugar. Here we have some brown sugar and some palm and or coconut oil and some salt and sodium citrate. Sorry for the yawning. I know I get bored talking about killer cereals. Just wants to put me to sleep, right? We can see here that the first few ingredients that we have in these cereals are not very nutritious. And I mean, okay, we may be able to get away with corn flour and oat flour, but those are really the only two things. How can a substance that we give ourselves every day, only with two food ingredients, how can we expect that to keep us out of the hospitals, keep us from getting cancer, and keep us from not feeling froggy throughout the days, right? We're not going to sit here and harp over all these, but let's talk about the big ones, all right? Let's talk about Red 40, okay? You're going to hear me clicking on my computer here. I want to show you guys what Red 40 is. Red 40. Okay. I'm going to read this. This is from Wikipedia. Allure Red AC, also known as FD&C Red 40 or E129, is a red azo dye commonly used in food. Okay, so let's see what is Red 40 made of. Let's look that up for you. And I'm doing it live so you guys can hear this, right? So that's why you hear the clicking. Red 40, also known as Allure Red AC, is a synthetic dye made from petroleum byproducts or coal and tar derivatives. It is a common ingredient in many foods, cosmetics, and medications. Red 40 is a naphthalene sulfonic acid that comes in the form of dark red powder or small granules. It can be dissolved in water, glycerol, propylene glycol, and 50% alcohol solutions. Okay. So let's look at this Red 40, right? It's made from petroleum. Okay. For those who let's look at what petroleum is. Let's look at what petroleum is. Petroleum is a mixture of mainly hydrocarbons. Okay. It is crude oil and the products derived from it. Petroleum is a broad term that refers to crude oil and the products derived from it. It is a mixture of hydrocarbons that can be found in solids, liquids, and gas states. Okay. So that is what petroleum is. Okay. And Red 40 is a synthetic dye that is made from petroleum. Okay. Let's also look at what other ingredients are in Red 40. All right. Because a lot of people probably don't know this, and this is why we should explain what it is. And also it's just a quick sidebar. Red 40 is directly in line or in a cause and effect with ADHD. Okay, so you can find many articles where red 40 is been found to be the cause of ADHD. Okay. Okay. And just another thing that we should know. Notice that red 40 is not made from any food. It's made from coal and tar. Coal and tar is not something that we should be eating at all. So if you're feeding yourself coal and tar every day for breakfast, um that's pretty rough on the body. All right, so let's talk about another. Let's talk about blue one. Blue one ingredients. Okay. Blue one is a synthetic dye that is produced by combining two formal benzoyl fuelsonic and aniline, followed by oxidation. It is then combined with a salt to create a stable pigment. Okay. Wow. So, as you see, this ingredient blue one is a synthetic dye that consumes disodium. I mean, there's so many different complex ingredients in this. Disodium, sodium chloride, calcium, and potassium salts. Okay. It is a chemical composition, meaning that it is not a natural occurring thing. Um, and even though the FDA approves of them, it doesn't mean that they should be eaten. And all these additives are not only causing ADHD, but they're also causing spikes in your cholesterol, because if you're noticing, all these compounds have to be mixed with salt to become stable. So you're getting extra doses of salt in your diet that you would not normally eat if you were actually eating natural things. And let's be honest here. If the cereal is only composed of corn flour and oat flour, why are we making it blue? For what? What's the reason that I need my oats to be blue? What's the reason? And if my oats are blue, they better be from blueberries, okay? Or something blue. Because why are we adding all these additives into the cereal, right? And I'll just straight up tell you why. The FDA is part of the organization that is literally trying to defund. I'm sorry, not defund, depopulate the United States. So, in a quick answer, that's why they're adding all of these additives. Okay, so you can look at your Captain Crunch berries and let's actually count here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, we have 23 ingredients and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 23 of those ingredients may be food. So let's go to our calculator. And I'm just saying 7 to be modest, but really it's probably less than that. 7 divided by 23. That literally means 30% of the Captain Crunch cereal that you're eating is actually maybe food. And the other 70% of it is literally artificial ingredients that are not meant to be consumed. So, if you wake up in the morning and you eat Captain Crunch berries every day for a week, 70% of your nutrition from that cereal is literally poisonous. And now people are wondering why their kids have ADHD, why they are not functioning correctly, and why after eating this cereal for so many years, people are having cancer. It's literally because you're putting tar inside of your body. You're eating tar. Okay? Just because they make it blue does not mean it's good for you, okay? These things are hazardous to the body that they're doing. You literally only have 7 ingredients that may be food. 30% of the Captain Crunch berries may actually be food. And what is that doing? It's spiking your cholesterol, It's making you fat because the body has a really hard time digesting and processing those things, because I mean the body is not meant to eat tar, right? So we just broke down a little bit of the Captain Crunch berries. The Captain Crunch berry cereal is one of the worst cereals known to mankind. I'm going to be blatantly honest with you. If you're eating Captain Crunch berry, I would never feed my kids Captain Crunch. I don't care if my kid was starving. We would go outside and eat leaves from a tree before I give my kid Captain Crunch berries, bro. Captain Crunch berries is like the food to the downfall of society, like people. And then not to mention you're mixing that with milk. Oh man, and that milk, and depending on what type of milk you're using, if you're drinking cow milk, 2% milk, all the added hormones, you're really just mixing up a bowl of poison. I wouldn't even call it cereal. I can't even give it that much respect. If we're being totally honest here. There is no reason for anyone in their right minds to be eating or indulging in Captain Crunch when 30% of it is possibly food, and we know it's not organic, and the other 70% is literally processed material. So that's just a little bit of information on what some of these additives are, because we went over red 40 and we went over a little bit of blue 1, right? The last thing we're going to go over is BHT, that's added to food to preserve freshness. All right, so let's look at BHT ingredients. BHT stands for butylated hydroxytoluene. It's a chemical that is made by reacting P-cresol with isobutylene and then catalyzing it with sulfuric acid. Okay. Now, they are saying that this is an organic chemical, but clearly that's not an organic chemical because you're reacting two chemicals with each other. So that's not organic. That is literally lab created. So I don't understand why they try to treat us like idiots, and let's be honest here too. Butylated hydroxytoluene is a stabilizer that can be found in cosmetics. Okay. So if you want to put that in cosmetics, that's fine. But to be ingesting something like that, and the fact that the FDA lies to you and tells you it's an organic compound is crazy, because you literally have to mix compounds to make BHT. Therefore, it's not organic. It's not organic. You took two compounds and you mix them together to create another compound. That's not organic. Just like seedless grapes aren't organic. You had to modify the DNA of a grape to make it seedless. Okay, so don't let the FDA lie to you, man. The FDA is what's allowing this stuff to go on, and that's why if you look at some of these things that I go over, like in the last episode, hot Cheetos, and then this episode, Captain Crunch are banned in other countries because the other countries are not going to keep putting up with them feeding us crap. All right. Hey, so once again, thank you guys for tuning in. If you were listening live on Instagram on NOCAP Yog, I appreciate you. I want to recommend that you guys, every time you go to the store and you're looking at the things that you normally buy, if you don't do this on a regular basis, you need to read your ingredients, right? You need to look at the back of your Captain Crunch, your Cinnamon Toast Crunch, your donut, whatever you're buying. You need to look on the back of that, and then look at your health, look at your happiness, look at your functionality, and you will start to correlate all these things together on why you are the way you are, because at the end of the day, you are what you eat. All right. This has been No Cap on a No Cap podcast, breaking down Captain Crunch Berries, the killer cereal, why we should stay away from it, and why, again, we need to grow our own food, because the FDA is putting anything in your food so that they can depopulate you. All right. Don't be a part of the depopulation. Let's be smart. Let's organize. Let's grow food. Let's eat the right food. And we will, as a people, be strong again like our ancestors were in the past. Peace, love. Talk to you guys soon.